It's Sunday afternoon, you have a good job, a comfortable apartment, and people in your life who care about you. If someone else looked at your life, they'd probably say, "You are doing well." That's what makes the feeling so difficult to explain. Nothing is obviously wrong, yet it's hard to shake the sense that something important is missing. It's easy to assume this feeling comes from being ungrateful, but that explanation has never been very satisfying. Most people who experience it know exactly how fortunate they are. The problem isn't that they fail to appreciate what they have. It's that appreciation and purpose are two different things. For most of human history, people rarely had the luxury of asking whether their lives felt meaningful. Survival answered that question for them. Finding food, raising children, contributing to the community, and dealing with whatever challenge appeared next filled each day with immediate responsibilities. Those responsibilities weren't always enjoyable, but they gave a clear direction almost by default. Over the last century, we've solved many of those problems with remarkable success. Daily life has become safer, more comfortable, and more predictable than it has ever been. We spend far less time worrying about survival than any generation before us, and that's something worth celebrating. At the same time, this progress quietly changed something most people never think about. And once survival stopped organizing our lives, it stopped providing a built-in sense of direction as well. That's why reaching a goal can feel surprisingly underwhelming. For years you imagined that getting the promotion, buying the apartment, or reaching financial stability will finally make everything click into place. When it finally happens, there's often a brief period of excitement before your mind adjusts and the achievement simply becomes your new normal. Psychologists refer to this tendency as hedonic adaptation, but the label isn't the interesting part. What's more interesting is what happens once the excitement fades and the question that drove you for years quietly disappears along with it. While you're working towards something, your days have a clear structure. Decisions feel easier because they are all connected to the same destination. Once you arrive, that structure quietly disappears. Success answers the question of how to get there, but it leaves behind a much more difficult question. What comes next? This is why people can achieve the life they always imagined and still feel strangely restless. It isn't because success was meaningless, it's because goals are excellent at giving us direction while we are pursuing them, but they are not very good at telling us what life should revolve around after we've reached them. Comfort creates a similar illusion. We often assume that once life becomes stable enough, meaning will naturally follow, but comfort and purpose actually do completely different jobs. One removes obstacles in front of you. The other gives you a reason to keep moving once most of those obstacles are gone. In many ways, this is one of the newest psychological challenges humans have ever faced. Previous generations spent so much of their energy responding to necessity that they rarely had to decide from scratch what their lives should ultimately be about. Today, millions of people have enough freedom to ask that question for the first time, and freedom turns out to be more complicated than it first appears. It doesn't just give you more choices, it also leaves you more responsible for deciding which of those choices deserve your time. Maybe that's why this quiet emptiness has become so common. We solved one of humanity's oldest problems without realizing it had been solving another problem at the same time. Survival gave people more than food and shelter. It also gave them a direction that didn't require much reflection. So if you've built the life you once dreamed about and you are surprised that it still doesn't feel complete, it doesn't necessarily mean you failed or that you've been chasing the wrong things. It may simply mean you've reached the point where success can no longer answer the question you've actually been asking all along. Having enough and having a reason were never the same thing, and realizing that might be the beginning of a different search altogether.